Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us again. This is Ryan Dunston, Patrice Dunston, and welcome to Conversation of Truths on Trivia Inspirational Radio. Today, we're getting into Black men and how they love.
Well, tell them why. Why are we talking about that?
Yeah, so I am in a project with a group of authors. It is a book. We collectively wrote a book on how Black men love. So it's 14 perspectives on love from Black men, and we each come from our own sphere of influence, our own sets of circumstances, our own past pains. Everything is mixed up in that book, and it turned out to be a pretty big deal. It's a pretty dope project that I was able to be a part of, and we thought that it would be a dope conversation because we've all had to experience some version of Black men loving us. It may not have always been correct, right? And both men and women have had to have some version of that love from another Black man or various Black men in their lives, and that's kind of what we wanted to dig into. But shameless plug, wanted to be able to let you all know that project that I am featured in comes out tomorrow, actually, and I would love for you guys to go out and purchase it. Black Men Love. I have a chapter in it, and it's pretty dope. But for me and
Tell
you,
them how they can get it.
oh, Amazon, you can DM me. You can actually follow me on Ryan underscore Dunston underscore. You can DM me there. I can send you a link. You could find it on my Square page. I would send you the link to that as well. Or you can come to the release party tomorrow. I would send you the link to that. You can follow me on Ryan Dunston on Facebook, LinkedIn, and I think that's all the streaming platforms. But um, wanted to talk to my wife, man, about Black men and how they love, and how we received love in the past. And interesting topic because I think that we've all experienced that love in a different manner from from multiple ways. And I don't think it's, from me personally, it hasn't all been healthy. I have not been loved correctly when it comes to Black men.
Mm-hmm.
Um, One, my father deceased at 6 years old, so I had to grow up without a father. It's pros and cons to both of to that, right? Because one, I didn't learn his bad habits. However, I did have, some of the generational issues that I've had to, I had to break those chains. Certain chains he didn't choose to break. I had to break certain issues that he didn't deal with. I have to deal with, right? A few of those things: addiction, um, learning how to feel, right? Bursting through various seasons of your life. He died when I think he was 36, if I'm not mistaken. Um, he didn't never show me. She never showed me how to be a father, but he wasn't much of, he wasn't much of one himself. And it's been tough. It's been tough. Financial situations I didn't get from. I mean, I didn't get any of those lessons from him. Um, I've had, abandonment issues because of it. I've had emotional issues because of it. I've had anger, has been a real big issue in my life, and then just proper communication, stability, balance,
Mm-hmm.
all those things have played a part. But what about for you? Your father, he's still here, but what's your version of that man, specifically Black man, that
Are we
Black
going
man loving you?
just dads right now? Talking about
Yeah,
men?
let's stay there.
Um, yeah, I didn't get the best example from him.
Hmm.
I didn't because I mean, there's bits and pieces when he was there that I did receive, but for the most part, it wasn't a good example of how to have or how a black man should treat me as a black woman, how I should be loved as a black woman.
Let's get into
Because what
that.
I received from him was, or what made me feel like I was deemed not good enough. So then I carried that into my relationship. And then that caused other issues because I felt like that's what I got from him.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why I carried with myself.
You feel like you got what from him, though?
That I wasn't good enough, deemed not good enough.
Learning how to love yourself as a result.
Right. So there's a lot of trickle down things that happen because of the lack of love. Right.
Abandonment. Yeah, I get you.
Right.
I get you. Let me ask you this. You said he was there a bit.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what good parts do you remember from him being there?
It was always about, like when we were younger, it was about when he did show up, it was, I wasn't there, but look, this is what I bought you. I wasn't there, but look, this is what I have for you. So it was like, but now even with my own kids, it's just like, I feel like I have to provide material things to show my love. Even with you, it's just like, look, babe, look what I got for you. And you're like, thanks. So it's like,
I don't mean to say it. A lot of times I'm consumed with my own goals and thoughts. You know, I get lost in my thoughts a lot.
Yeah.
You know, as I try and mask and manage my emotions because I don't want to bleed on you or the kids. But, you know, I'm not just blowing that off, but I understand that that's a pivotal part of why you do what you do.
Yeah.
You know, do you think that hinders you though?
What do you mean?
Like, do you think it limits your perspective of how you should love? Just providing instead of, you know.
Oh yeah, because I mean, even in the stage that I'm in now, trying to build our businesses, I feel like I should be trying to build our businesses and working a 9 to 5. So I feel like I'm not doing enough on the providing tip because I'm not able to just go out and buy like I used to. You know what I mean? So it's just like, oh, I wish I could just go out and buy this, that, and the third. But we have other goals that we're trying to obtain and we're trying to reach anyway. But it's just like, it does.
I can relate to that. I mean, because, you know, when you're coming from, as I mentioned in our previous episodes, I'm a child of alcoholics and drug addicts, right? So, you know, I had to do something with my emotions. I just ended up putting them, you know, burying them under the bed or putting them in my back pocket. I don't know what I did with them, to be honest with you. I'm just getting back in contact with them now, and it can be overwhelming. But you know, because you don't go through those seasons of life and those cycles the way you're supposed to, and you're not loved in a healthy manner, you know, you end up setting, as we mentioned before, this false, unrealistic expectation of what your family and what your future should look like. So you never get a chance to see the overcoming, right? You never get a chance to see the actual building of a business. You never get a chance to see how to be loved correctly, right? But most importantly, and I think this one's huge, I never got a chance to see how to be a son. Right. And I'm pretty sure you're probably going to say the same thing. It was, you know, I didn't know how to be a daughter.
I didn't know how to be a daughter to a man. Because my mom and I, we have a close relationship, but I didn't know like how to be a daughter to a man, which made it difficult for when we got married. And it was just like, you know.
No, I don't know. Let's dig into that.
No, I'm saying like just being a wife and then you being a man, and I'm feeling like, well, I don't need your help to do this anyway. Like I'm just as capable. Like meaning me feeling like I don't need a man to complete me. I can do this by myself because I didn't grow up with a man in the house. I grew up with a mother who was already doing it all. So it was just like I didn't have that. There was never that man that I knew that I could depend on. So I never in my mind thought, I'm going to have to depend on this man and it's okay. In my mind, it was never okay to depend on anybody because the man that I was supposed to be able to depend on showed me that I couldn't. So then that led when we got married, it was just like, I'm not going to depend on you for anything.
Do you think that was problematic? I don't know if I felt like that was one of our biggest problems. Like, to be honest with you, you know, I don't feel like I was loved correctly from my mother or my father, right? I felt like my
Mm-hmm.
mom had to overcompensate, right? And my father was just absent.
Mm-hmm.
And because of it, my mom had no balance. And her version of love came out distorted because of what she had to overcompensate for.
Mm-hmm.
And ultimately, a lot of that turned into worry, anxiety, fear, anger for her. And that came out in her love for me and my sister in ways that she was oblivious to. I mean, it was her bleeding on us, but it was all subconscious for her,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it was like she didn't know that the way that she had begun to interact with us or react to us was in a certain manner that was causing us pain in those moments.
Mm-hmm.
But to her, it was okay because it was getting done any kind of way,
As long as it was getting done.
as long as it was getting done.
Mm-hmm.
And she didn't realize it was causing some bad habits and patterns in us, me and my sister. And as a result, we now have to heal from those things. And that did and in that sense, that black man, my father, should have been
That balance.
he should have been that balance. He should have had but he was hurt, man. Like, my father, his mom, his mother was shot by his father. And apparently he's seen it, right? But that was the end result. So, apparently my grandfather tried to kill my grandmother several occasions.
Mm-hmm.
And I can only imagine. I mean, one of these occasions that was described to me by my aunt, my father's sister, was my grandfather tried to slit my grandmother's neck.
Mm-hmm.
And I just kind of thought to myself, like, Dad, like just that one moment with my mother on her knees and my father, because to slit somebody's neck, I mean, you have to be over them, right? And then you have to be pulling the knife from one side to the other. And apparently, he was just inches away from the jugular. So that means that a certain position was there with a certain level of chaos, right?
Traumatic
Anger.
for
It was
children.
traumatic.
Mm-hmm.
It was definitely traumatic for him. And apparently he had several of those occasions, and he actually saw,
So he grew up in a house of abuse.
crazy,
Beyond abuse.
beyond
He killed
abuse.
her.
Right. And the biggest part of that was not the biggest, but the craziest part of that is, you know, he had to forgive his father. Well, he didn't have to forgive. I don't know if that was the case, right? He's not here for me to have that conversation. But once my apparently it was manslaughter because they started wrestling over the gun and the gun went off and she got shot. But because it was manslaughter, he got out after a certain amount of years. So, but by that time, my father was grown, and he had ended up taking care of my grandfather when he got sick. I don't know if I could have taken care of a man who shot my mother.
Mm-hmm.
So I can only imagine the insanity that was going on in his mind.
Mm-hmm.
I love him, but I hate him.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I want to leave him, but I can't. You know what I mean? It's like, my gosh, it's like, that there was then you add in the alcoholism, right? That he witnessed. And then you add in the abuse, the drug addictions, and then him starting to involve himself in those activities, right? And he went to the army,
Mm-hmm.
whatever he's seen there,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I can only imagine what kind of pain he was in. Now, when I was younger, I couldn't view it this way, right? It took a certain level of
Life.
for me to go through in order to be able to tap into what kind of pain he may have felt so that I could have enough empathy to forgive him. Because you can't move forward until you do.
Right.
And you know, I had started to feel his pressure, because I had to forgive his crazy ASS. We're gonna say that on Inspirational Radio. Right? But I had to forgive him. I had to forgive the way he was. And then first of all, I had to accept the things that he had done to me that one, he was not sorry for, and two, that I didn't do to myself.
But you have to tell yourself he wasn't sorry because he wasn't aware that he was doing that.
Regardless, right at this point in my life, I'm younger. Whys don't matter yet. I'm just upset that I have to heal from something I didn't do to me
Mm-hmm.
and forgive someone who it does not have the ability to say I'm sorry, and I can't get the closure from the traditional space.
Have you ever received um, that level of understanding or love or compassion, empathy from any black man in your life?
No, no. And I got a unique theory on that, right? Because I did have black men who did show a version of love, but it was fine. It was from afar.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to emulate their sets of circumstances from afar, or at least try to, right? But it was from that distorted view, right? That distorted vision, that pain,
Mm-hmm.
because I had set up some unrealistic and false expectations as to how my future family should look. But it was only because I didn't have the ability to live with some of the black men that had been positioned into my life to act as examples. But I didn't get a chance to view their lives. I never seen them overcome goals. I always seen the end result. It was like I seen when my godfather became a lawyer,
You never saw the
but I
struggle.
didn't see the struggle. I saw when my coach was a coach, but I didn't see what it took for him to have what it took for him to go through in order for his heart to be postured in the manner that he would want to be a coach.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like I didn't see the processes of black men. And I think that was by design,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because I'm very spiritual. I believe Father wanted it that way because he wanted it to just be me and him. And the way that I had to grow up, it was very painful, but then also rewarding
Purposeful.
because exactly my pain had become my purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And my purpose would turn out to be one of the ways that Father would end up blessing me monetarily and emotionally, right? Because he would get a chance to give me a vision through the pillars and the examples that he had set, but not tell me how I was going to get there, right? Which would allow me to take a journey without saying, no, I'm not going up there,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I don't know what the process says. So I don't have no reason to say, nope, not doing it. So he said that it was strategic because the journey would give me everything I needed.
I want to pause you there for a second because there's often times where the kids are doing something and you're like, no, you don't want to do that. I've been there. I done that. I did it for you so you didn't have to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But imagine if you had somebody in your life that prevented you from learning the lessons that you learned along the way because they've been through the struggle. Where would you be?
Well, I mean, listen, the way my heart is postured in that manner, the way that you just explained, I think it's natural. Every father's gonna say,
You want to shield your kids. But
yeah.
I guess from my perspective is what I'm saying is I understand where you're coming from, but I want to point out to you that because yes, they are our kids, they're God's kids first,
Sure.
that they are going to have their own lessons and struggles that they are going to have to learn from to grow from. And you can't say, I've learned it already for you.
I don't deny that, but it doesn't stop me from getting pissed when they make a mistake that I told them about.
Right. But
Yeah.
they had to learn, they had to make it.
Yeah, but I don't want to, they still get on my nerves sometimes. But that's love. That's the love, right? Love endures, right? We talked about that on our first episode. So love endures. I understand that.
Mm-hmm.
I know that they had processes, and believe me, I understand that God trusted me with their lives,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because he went to a great deal of work to take mine out of my life,
and you had to get over that.
And
too.
I had to get over it. But he had me every step of the way. And it was also purposeful because every way I didn't experience a black man that I needed the love, I'm able to give to them.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So although I know that I have to let go in certain moments, the effort speaks volumes.
Mm-hmm.
So even when I know they got to go through their own process, and it's natural for me to want to protect them from certain things, I still feel that when they see it, maybe not in the moments, but when they look back and see like, dang, my father really was reaching for me, they're going to be able to see my love. you know. And I love differently than what you love, right? You're a nurturer, right? And I understand that. And the way that I'm gonna love them is gonna be different, but they're still gonna see both our efforts.
But what I'm trying to point out to you is that is a form of nurturing. When you're like, no, I did it for you, it's okay. Like you're still nurturing.
Yeah, just by me banging them in the chest.
No,
I'm just fine. Oh wait. No, sometimes they do, man. Come on, man. Like sometimes.
no. But what I'm trying to say is that's a form of nurturing by you saying you don't have to do that. I did it already. I went there for you. I did that already. Like you don't have to go through that. You don't have to learn that lesson. I learned it for you. Just trust what I say.
Yeah, no, it doesn't come off that way.
But it is a form of nurturing. It is.
Maybe
it's okay. It's not a bad thing.
It's also okay for us to agree to disagree. I mean, it's fine if you see it that way, but I don't see it that way.
Okay.
You know, a lot of times I end up frustrated because they don't listen to me. You know, but I don't. You know, I'm not. I am more so inclined to allow them to feel the bruise of the mistake, where you will come in and usher them through. I'm like, nope, figure it out. Not you though. That's not how you do that.
Well, because no, there's a point where it's like, okay, I'm gonna teach you how to do it. Let's walk our way through this together. And then it's just like the next time it arises, like, what do you think you should do? How do you think you should go about this? Because we've talked about this. We walked through it already. Where you think it's just like, all right, go figure it out. But I'm like,
if you didn't listen, if you did not hear me.
No. I'm not talking about not listening, but I'm talking about it's just like you can't expect them to know if you've never explained.
But I feel I do though. I feel I do explain, but I just feel that sometimes a father and a mother we can be tone deaf to them at times.
Mm-hmm.
And that's because we're always there. And every child acts as if the parent doesn't know. Right?
Oh, yeah.
And I think that we both have our separate ways of dealing with that. But I don't want to get off topic, right? Because I wanted to spin that back around and ask you, have you had those examples in your life where, you saw Black men from afar,
mm-hmm.
but it was only in results? Like, dang, he's a good father, but I don't know how he became a good father. Or
yeah, my uncle who's married to my aunt, my mom's sister,
mm-hmm.
because like they've been together longer than I've been alive. So they've been married. I'm 34, 35.
Don't whisper it. Say it loud.
No. So, but so it's been over 40 some years that they're married, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
So, regardless, it was just like, so I've seen their marriage, but it's just like I've never seen I guess the struggles of the marriage though, because there's always an opposite side to somebody's life that you're not privy to.
For sure.
But I've always seen them build together, their first home together, their next home together, their family together, their foundation, what they provided for their kids. Their kids are now out here doing well. So it's just like I've seen the importance of Black love and what it looks like and what it has the potential to be.
Mm-hmm.
And I got from my uncle that's the only man in my life I've seen it from, because honestly, my grandfather and my grandmother, it was tumultuous. And it's just like my grandmother literally told my mom that they stayed together for the kids. But my mom was like, well, y'all didn't get divorced, so we was grown. And she was like, honestly, we'd appreciate it if y'all would have got divorced, because it was just too much going on in the household growing up. So y'all should have just split up.
That's an interesting perspective. I wouldn't have thought about that. I mean, I would have, every child, you would think, wants their parents to stay together. Do you think that? And so I feel like that's your mom saying that now in her
as an adult,
more mature years. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if she was younger, I think that she would want them to figure it out.
Right. But as an adult, you have, you look back and you look on things different. Yeah. And then you're like, well, if I didn't witness this, how would that have changed my life now as an adult? How would I go about certain things as an adult?
So it's easy to comment on now, right? As opposed to in the mix of it. No, I mean, I get it, right? Because, both of my uncles were drug addicts, mm-hmm. right? So I didn't have good examples there. My grandfather was an alcoholic. Didn't have a good example there. Completely disconnected from my father's side. My mother was so angry with the Dunstons. that she was just like, I'm done with all y'all NIGGAs. That I didn't even get a chance to get around them, but it wasn't, it was still turmoil and pain on that side as you communicate with your cousins on the back end of all of those experiences. And I didn't have the best of examples, and I had very limited good examples, or at least I was limited in the manner in which I would view their processes anyway.
Yeah.
And sometimes God, that saying, um, our Father whom art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done. That part right there, it will be done. You ain't got no choice, right? It's like whether it's good or bad, it's going to be done. It just so happened that my will was in the negative sense, but it still would be purposeful. It would be done, right? And everything that I had to go through, I still had, good experiences waiting on me. And even as I heal now, heal from those experiences, it's still painful. Learning how to feel in my 30s is overwhelmingly exhausting. Like, of course, my chapter in this book, Black Men Love, is about growth, right? It's about the things I've had to struggle with, but choosing to struggle with them, right? Because the biggest point in me writing in that project was to point out everything that my father did not choose to do, those hard things, right? So me fighting addiction, because I had to fight it, me fighting every
well, not just from your father's side, but also your mother's
my
side.
mother's side as well. Yeah, fighting ADHD and fighting, all kinds of in the mud, right? Getting it out of the mud, man, from both sides has been a very exhausting thing, right? Because when you start healing, one of the biggest things that I didn't get a chance to see that I wanted to have some type of perspective of, right. And shout out to my aunt, man, because she was able to come out of nowhere and start helping me with this process, my aunt Cheryl. But you know you once you start to heal and you open up that because nobody shows you the pain. As a matter of fact, everybody else is trying to hide the pain from you.
You can't put it back in the box.
And you can't put it, so it's like everybody else is like, no, I don't want to deal with it. No, I'm just trying to make it through life. Nope, I'm not gonna choose to deal with it. Right. And the moment you try and deal with it, right, you're the trailblazer in the family. You're the one who's choosing to say, let's just dead all of these negative and patterns that set us back. Let's do the hard stuff that gets us propelled forward.
Yeah.
Right. It's like once you look at it all, it's like you take it. It's like a couple of months where you're like, am I really this effed up? No. That's how I look. I'm like, yo, like, because you have anger issues, but the whys, the whys are so tangled, right? It's like, yo, your why I'm so angry is tangled up in so many roots, right? And to really dig up any issue and truly heal from it, you have to pull it up by the root.
Well, imagine yourself like a plow, right? And so a plow literally drags stuff along as it goes. So you are the plow. So as you're going through life, you're picking up all types of stuff through life. You are plowing through, you picking up things that you don't even realize you picking up and you holding on to. Anger, anxiety, sadness, like you picking it all up and you don't even realize, especially as a child.
Well, from what I understand, like apparently if my grandmother got shot by my grandfather, anger has been in my family for generations.
But because that happened, your dad was angry.
Right.
And so because your dad was angry, he went to drugs and he went to other substances.
Right.
Which then affected your childhood, but it also took him away, which contributed to your anger.
Right, but no. It's more to it, right? Because that also made my mother angry. Right. But my mother was already dealing with compounded anger because she was angry that her father didn't choose to heal from her. the alcoholic, I told you. And my grandmother was alcoholic too, but she was also very manipulative. And both of my uncles, her brothers, were drug addicts. And she's probably angry at her realities too, right? Then angry at herself because she made so many mistakes because of what she was taught and conditioned, right? And then like it was just it was tangled up in so many roots.
So do you think anger is hereditary, or do you think anger is taught?
I mean, of course, like there are learned behaviors.
Exactly.
But I also feel that there are learned behavior. There are learned behaviors, but I also feel that addiction, me being angry at the fact that I have addiction issues, is tied to the tangle part. Is tangled up in a issue that is hereditary. And that's the reason why it gets to be so difficult to really, like, you look at it and you like, yo, am I, like, because that's just the anger version, right? And we ain't even, yeah, it's tangled up with addiction, but the addiction has its own tangled roots as well, right? And then the fear and anxiety has its own tangled issues as well, right? And then the abandonment issues, which can be tangled to addiction and anger and anxiety, has its own tangled roots as well. It's like you open up that box, and if you're gonna do it right, you have to take your time with it, right? That's the reason why sometimes therapy takes years. I mean, look at Will Smith. I mean, I hate to bring him up, but he's damn 60 years old, slapping somebody on stage.
Does he got something?
He still hurt. It's a lot, and he's still hurting.
But let me ask you a question. So let's use the analogy of a flower in the dark in a room. It's not going to sprout. It's not going to grow because of its environment that it's in.
Sure.
But the minute that you take it out of that environment and put it in a place of sunlight and healing, it starts to sprout. It starts to grow.
Is that what they do? I didn't know that. I don't do the
certain flowers don't grow in the dark. Okay, but
my bad. I'm going with
you. My analogy.
All right, I'm going with
right. You go to stole my analogy. But what I'm trying to get with, first of all, is when you become a product of your environment, you tend to absorb the negativity around you. But it's oftentimes, and not until you remove yourself from that you begin to see, and you're able to look back, hindsight, like, oh my goodness, like, look at that. Like, but when you're in it, you don't see anything wrong with it.
Right. No, I agree with you, which is why
oftentimes when you distance yourself from that, it's just like, we are all our people. Like, it's time to keep going. It's time to start healing. It's time to love.
Yeah, but it doesn't take away, like, yes, it is time. It's time to heal. It's time to do everything that you just stated. But it does not stop me from being overwhelmed with how much healing I actually have to do.
No,
when you take a look at how much you have to heal from. Yes, moving yourself from that environment is necessary.
But that's what I'm saying. What I'm trying to point out to you is you started your healing journey. That you're able to look back and see, like, that was a dark place. Like, your family members come from a dark place, but it took you to want to do better and heal. And then once you look back, you're like, wow.
Well, I guess you're right. But what I'm noting is the healing is just as painful as the pain that you came from. Right? That's what I'm trying to get across. And for a Black man to have to choose to, because in order to heal, you're going to be faced with some realities that you didn't know were present. Things living in your heart, in the depths of your heart, you did not know were tied down.
That's that plow.
Right. And then also,
like picking stuff up.
Yeah, man. Like there's the unlearning process that you have to go through. The learning how to love yourself process that you have to go through. Mm-hmm. The starting where you are, feeling like you're behind, and for Black men, right? You're in America and you're trying to fight for your family, thinking that you're running out of time. That in itself causes a whole nother level of anxiety that you have to try and understand, because those feelings doesn't automatically stop. You have to manage them, process them correctly, but then also learning how to process and manage your feelings and emotions and fears. First of all, most men don't want to say they're scared. Then most men don't want to say they feelings are hurt, right? Just the fact that you have to learn how to do that is painful for a black
Communicating
man.
your
Yes, yes. The healing part is just as painful, if not more painful, than you actually being in the pain. You know what I mean?
So is giving birth, but at the end, it's a miracle.
We ain't going there. I'm not going there with you with that epidural, man. I'm not. I'm not. I am not, not going there.
Let me see. Let me see something. Even the size of a pea get pushed through your hole.
I'm not going there with you. I'm not going there. That's not our conversation. That's not our topic.
Well, I'm just saying, there's things that from pain, beautiful things can arise. Is what I'm saying. Like
No doubt.
sometimes
Yes.
it is necessary to go through it.
Yes.
To
But
get to where you have
so
to be.
there's a stage where that's when your whys, even as complex as they may be, they actually mean more and give you more strength than your willpower.
Right.
Right? Because you just know why you got to go through the pain. Right?
Or why you had to. Because sometimes you don't know in the moment.
I'm talking about the healing. Like you have to go through pain as you heal. So it's like because most some men will just give me the blunt, give me the liquor, and I just keep it moving. Right? I'll numb the pain and just keep it going. Right? Or it's how things not necessarily start, but it's how they stay in place. Right? Sadly. How the chains never get broken. Right? How your family, because believe it or not, the longer you deny it, the longer you choose not to deal with it, the worse it becomes. Right? It's hard for a child to break all of those chains. You know what I mean? Especially how times continue to change. Right? We're in a social media age. Right? It probably would have been easier for my father to break the chains in the 80s and the 90s than it is for me to have to look at social media and everything and every burden that brings if it's not managed and processed.
Well, yeah, because that's the problem, because a lot of people are comparing their beginnings to somebody else's middle. Like they're in the middle of their book and you just started, but you looking at their life like, oh my goodness, why don't I have that? Why am I not right there? Like you got to stop comparing your life to other people's lives on social media, because most of that stuff's not real anyway.
That's true. You do. You have to try and keep that into perspective, but it's hard to do. I'll even say this: when I first started this journey, right, a few years back, one of my major issues with God was, how in the hell can you ask me to do it and you didn't ask not near one of the dudes before me to do it?
And maybe he did.
Or maybe he didn't. God damn it. You feel me? Because I just felt like I was the one who had to do it. And I felt like I didn't have a choice in the matter.
You felt like you were the one who had to do it, and maybe he did ask them to do it, but they didn't rise to the occasion.
That's not my perspective.
Okay, well, I'm trying to give you another.
They didn't do it, and I have to, and that's all I could see at that time anyway. Right? At that time, I'm just getting into this, and the only thought that would come to me is, can't believe these dudes didn't want to do this for me. Here it is, I want to do these for my kings, but you ain't want to, not narrow one of them wanted to do it for me. Like to me, it was like the biggest. It was I had to sacrifice myself. I had to kill myself. I had to kill a version of me that I didn't even birth, but I would feel every bit of the pain. Like just going through those realities and the the self-loathing and the self-pity and the anger and then the depression, and then it all over the cycles, the cycle, like it just, the fact that I felt like, anyway, I was so far behind than everyone else was very, very painful for me, right? To have to do something, to have to heal from something that I didn't do to me. I just was like, man, this is just absolutely not fair.
So compare that to where you were then with that mindset to where you are now as a black man with his own children.
What do you mean?
Because
Compare then to now?
right where
When?
because when you were going through your process and
I
you were,
still am.
I know you are, but
Yeah.
have you let go of that part?
Yes, I have. I mean, because eventually the only way to get forward is to let it go, forgive, and all of those things. But I guess you receive it differently, right? You start to you just love like the why is the biggest part. The why is the biggest part, right? You start to because what happened is my kids had started to struggle with some of the things that I had been struggling with, right? I was dealing with failure, and I saw our kids dealing with failure, right? I was dealing with emotional issues and I saw our kids dealing with emotional issues. And I was loving them so much to try and figure it out for myself so I could figure it out for them. Because you can't take nobody where you ain't never been. And it just, their needs had begun to trump mine, so I was willing to just do whatever for them. But there was still seasons where I thought like, yo, here it is. I'm willing to do whatever. I'm willing to kill me, but these jokers ain't want to kill themselves. Like I literally I had to start positive affirmations. I had to change the negative perspectives, the victim mindsets. There's a lot of mental work I had to go through, which is what this book is about. The choosing to heal, the choosing to grow, right? Because growth is a painful process. To choosing to evolve was the version of my love that I gave to our family.
I can relate to that and I can agree with that because when I had Jaleel, it was just like there was so many things that I would do for this child. There wasn't nothing I wouldn't do. And then when we had Ryan, and then when we had Cameron, it was just like there's nothing I won't do for my kids. I won't, you know what I'm saying? So it's just like, and then thinking about like my dad is just like, but you can't even pick up the phone. But there's nothing that I won't do for my kids. But then it's like looking back at the childhood that I had without that consistent father figure. I'm like, how can you not want to be there for your kids? But me being a mother, it's just like, I'm always gonna be here for my kids. Anything they need, like let me know. But so it's like as a parent, how are you okay with not being a parent? So that's something that I had and continue to try to deal with.
Yeah.
Like why are you okay with just, taking a back seat? But I'm a parent now, so there's I still can't grasp that concept. I can't. Because this is my responsibility. This is my job to make sure that they are okay. And you don't even care to check to see if I'm okay. So it's just like I can't imagine. So, not being a parent and sacrificing for my kids. It's just something, and that's probably why that's something that even now I have to let go of.
Yeah.
Because as parents, you will do anything for your kids.
And even letting go, right? Like, isn't that's painful in itself? Because we have the right
to be angry.
But
do we have to be angry even if we have
No, we don't
right?
have to be, but I have every right to be.
Right.
Like I have every right to have this level of animosity, to have these emotions toward my set of circumstances and the individuals who contributed to them.
Right.
I am pissed at y'all, and I'm well within my right to be that way. But the way that it was put to me was, now what?
You angry now what?
And I could never answer that question.
What you gonna do about it?
I still can't answer it, which is why I chose to understand. Because what am I gonna stay at this? I'm gonna stay at this angle. I'm gonna stay looking at it like this, and while time is literally going by me. Like, yes, you're mad. and you have every right to be. But time is going by you, and your kids need you now,
Mm-hmm.
right? And there is, as you heal, you find advancement. I didn't see it then, but through faith, sacrifice, you find this level of advancement that's just overwhelmingly gratifying.
Mm-hmm.
To be able to begin to have a relationship with your kids that you couldn't get to while you were busy staring at the fact that is, I'm pissed and I have every right to be,
Yeah.
you know. And if I couldn't answer it, and if I was facing things at that time, you know, I was missing out on my goals. I was, you know, and the thing is, like, forgiving my father allowed for a more emotional well-being,
Mm-hmm.
because it allowed me to tap into a version of myself. Because let's be honest, I'm a version of him.
Mm-hmm.
And it allowed me to, forgiving him allowed me to love myself in another way that would allow me to understand him and me simultaneously.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that, I was able to you know find more advancement, because through the love I was through the understanding I was willing to give him, and through the way I was starting to understand myself, I was finding more gifts in me. I was finding more uh, strategic ways of thinking in me. I was starting to explore different versions of my heart that I didn't know were there. I was able to find more of me
Mm-hmm.
just by forgiving him, just by choosing to love him and me at the same time. It
Mm-hmm.
allowed me to, find more of me,
Right.
you know. And it's hard to kind of explain that to some men, because if it I unless you choose to stop being angry, you're never going to be able to tell a man to stop.
Mm-hmm.
That has to be a choice on him. Just like you can't stop a man from being an addict, or being an alcoholic. Those things are choices. Changing is a choice. Choosing to grow is a choice. You just make the choice, and your why helps you fuel your willpower in that choice.
Mm-hmm.
But they have to make it, right? So you're never going to be able to move a person's eyes off of why they should not see a version of the truth. You just have to. They're going to have to be willing to see another version, right? Like, there's two sides to every single door.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? There's a whole nother truth on the other side of the door. I heard a minister say, don't don't get closed in a room with open doors. Don't get closed in a room with open doors. You have every ability to leave,
Mm-hmm.
but you also have every reason to stay.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That room might provide certain comforts for you. You understand it. You know exactly what's in it, but you outgrow it too, and that's the part that most people can't understand. You know, and some people, when their life begins to fail or they find themselves behind as time begins to move forward, it's hard to get a person to understand. You got to get up out of this comfort zone.
Mm-hmm.
It's not fitting for you anymore. you know and that's a difficult process for most.
Mm-hmm.
But
I
it's
agree.
also attached to inner healing
Mm-hmm.
on a level that you may not be prepared for. you know Most people, like, when they get a chance to start for the first time, they begin to interact with father, they think, like, how, quote unquote, religion, right? Religion, not relationship. Religion set you up for a name it, claim it, blab it, grab it, spin around on one toe and declare it and decree it, and then all of a sudden, boom, you got it. It's like this hocus pocus belief that's not true, right? It's just not true. It's not true, right? the relationship side of it all tells you the truth, right? Number one, me and my relationship with Father has always went back to, before we move forward, you got to learn how to be a son.
Mm.
And before we move forward, you got to allow me to be your father, because there's going to be things that I say no to, and you're not going to be able to understand why. And when you put that into that's a spiritual understanding, but when you put it into a natural understanding, there's reasons why I say no to Ryan, and he doesn't understand it at 13,
Mm-hmm.
you know. But as your spirit matures, or as you just submit to authority, right? When you don't have a father, you don't know how to submit to authority, right? And he's saying, like, no, like, the reason why you have no structure now, and you're on drugs, or you're drinking, or you're doing this, or you're doing that, right? And even if you're not doing those things, you a shopaholic, or maybe you messing with all kinds of men or all kinds of women. You don't have any authority in your life, no structure in your life. And in order for the structure to be there, someone has to place it there, because number one, in order for that to be there, you will have had to do something that you didn't know, which means you can't do it. He has to. Right? Because how you gonna do something that you don't know how to do? So when he places the structure in your life from an authoritative standpoint, you have to submit to it and be willing not to understand in a season of your life. And some men are not gonna be able to do that. They're not gonna be able to say, all right, I don't know why I can't be I don't know. I don't know why I can't be a day trader. I just know he told me I can't for the moment. Or I don't know why I can't smoke this blunt right now. I just know he told me I can't right now, right? And to the person that has to put the blunt down, or the liquor bottle down, those things may make him comfortable, and he may not know why he has to be uncomfortable, right? He may feel like he's more productive with the blunt. He may feel like he's more productive with the liquor, right? The liquor eases his nerves. He comes home, he's able to communicate with his wife, right? He's able to chill with his kids. He's not doing all, but it's for reasons that you don't understand just yet. Anyway, you will, as your spirit matures. But you have to, can you be a son, or can you be a daughter, and can you be loved by a father? Now that is very hard to do if you've never had a father. It is very hard to do. As a matter of fact, you and I have had some issues when it comes to you trusting a man.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about. Yeah, when we first started.
And to be able to trust, first of all, you can't see Father. You can feel him, but you can't see him. So it's like, how do I submit to something I can't even see? And, these this false narrative when it comes from these broken levels of Christianity it just kind of sets people up for something that's just not real. When you come to Father and you thinking, oh, I came to Father and my life got worse. It didn't really get worse. He just has to break what you had he got to break all of that down, because everything that you had ain't real. You built all that stuff up through false narratives and culture. And when he starts to dismantle all of those things,
so you can start your healing
so
process.
He can start your right, and you don't understand why you're in so much pain, because your religion didn't set you up for pain and healing. Right?
Everything's supposed to be all good.
It's supposed to be perfect. It's supposed to be boom, right? But in reality, when you get surgery, you sleep during the surgery, but when you wake up, your wound hurts. Right? And those are the portions of healing that people didn't set me up for. And that's what I wanted to be able to convey in this book. I wanted to talk to some folks about what healing really meant, right? From a spiritual perspective.
It means pain first.
Right. And how? Right? How many times have we, oh, you just got to do this. What you mean? How do I do that? How? When is somebody going to come tell me how do I do it? You got to have a positive perspective. How? How do I have a positive perspective? Oh, you just got to focus. How do I focus? It's not working. I'm having thought attacks. Things just keep hitting me in my head, and I don't know why. I can't stop the thoughts from happening, right? Being able to explain those very real things that are happening, but then being able to navigate someone through those murky waters is going to be monumental to people's healing, man. Hopefully, they're able to buy that book. Go get that book. Go get the book, man. Go get the book, and tune into the Ryan Dunston podcast. You can get into that through any streaming platform too. We dig into healing, and we talk about some other things there too. But then also keep coming back to Trivia Inspirational Radio, where me and my wife talk about some of the struggles we made it through. I'm every day I make it. I ain't gonna go there. I was getting ready to say a bad joke. Yeah. I'm learning.
How about black men? You keep loving on them kids. Keep loving on your wives. Keep spreading love. Keep it on a good note. No dad jokes.
No bad jokes. What would you? All right. And how much time we got here? We got 4 minutes. What would you say? What would you say you are beginning? The change in me is allowing, or is kind of navigating a change in you over the last 5 years.
Your patience with me, because there's moments where honestly you done plucked my last nerve, and you plucked my nerve because sometimes you do it on purpose. But then it's just like I carry that on all through the day, and you like, babe, why you so mad?
Take your boxing gloves off.
It's like, what you mean? I'm so mad. You done plucked my nerve.
You gotta take some gloves off.
But not just that instance, but there's sometimes where I'm carrying my day and I am short. It's just like I don't have time for it. I don't have patience for it. Like, and then, but you're more patient with me now, because before it would spark something. But now it's just like you're more patient with me, so it's just like, yeah, let me calm down. Like, this is not necessary right now.
Yeah.
So that part.
That's actually where I was going with that, right? Because what I was going to say was, for any black man that's tuning in, once you begin to heal, energy is transferable, and it will organically leak into everyone in the house.
Why you don't train? Why you don't pick up on my energy?
Because you be getting on my nerves.
You don't feel my calm energy?
No. I gotta go process. My feelings after some of the exchanges with you. But I'm doing that in a healthy manner, which is why.
Because sometimes I be in the mood to be like joke around and play around.
No.
And then you don't, and so that makes me want to joke and play even more. And then you
even now. Even now. No. But no, this has been a very therapeutic conversation.
It has.
I'm pretty sure everyone has experienced imperfect love from black men. But I also believe that there is a plethora of black men in this season who is determined
to do the work.
To do the work, man, because they are sick of some of the realities that they have had to endure, go through, process, and they want to change. Mm-hmm. Even if the changes that they are sparking today, they will never see the results of. They just understand wholeheartedly the point in still sacrificing their own feelings, their own, flesh, because you gotta kill a version of yourself in order to become something else. And I may never see what Ryan's grandkids will become because of what I'm deciding to do today. And I'm okay with that, to be honest with you.
We just know they'll be better kids.
They'll be better. And the more I am able to drop off as I heal and choose to grow and choose to continue to be uncomfortable, the more comfortable I become. It's almost as if my uncomfortable is transitioning into comfort. It's comfort to be uncomfortable, and that is it's rewarding. You start to see rewards that you just didn't think would be coming. So I appreciate y'all coming in, man. This is Words of Truth with Patrice Dunston. Conversation of Truths. I'm sorry. with Patrice and Ryan Dunston, and we are on Trivia Inspirational Radio. We'll see you guys.
Have a good one.